In the frozen darkness of the Arctic during World War II, ships didn't just sink, they disappeared. Entire fleets, dozens of vessels strong, were wiped out in minutes by storms, submarines, and ambushes hidden by the polar night. Their final messages were fragments of panic, swallowed by static. Tonight, we uncover the terrifying Arctic sea battles of World War II, where history recorded the losses but not always the reasons. Subscribe for more forgotten chapters resurfacing from the deep. The Arctic theater of World War II is often overshadowed by battles in Europe and the Pacific, yet it was one of the most brutal and strategically vital arenas of the entire war. The Allies relied on Arctic convoys to deliver ammunition, tanks, trucks, food, and aircraft to the Soviet Union. Without these supplies, the Eastern Front might have collapsed. But the cost of each voyage was unimaginable. These convoys took a route unlike any other in the war, through the Barents Sea and Arctic Ocean, where storms could tear steel apart and temperatures dropped so low that exposed skin froze instantly. German aircraft flew from Norway, U-boats stalked the waters silently, and surface warships waited for opportunities to strike. The Arctic became a deadly hunting ground. The most infamous convoy was PQ-17, a name etched in naval history with terror. Sailing in July 1942, PQ-17 consisted of 34 merchant ships escorting essential war supplies to the Soviet Union. The weather was unusually calm for the Arctic, a deceptive tranquility that lulled many into a sense of safety. But German forces had already planned a devastating trap. German reconnaissance planes shadowed the convoy, tracking every movement. Their reports went straight to the formidable battleship Tirpitz, one of the largest and most heavily armored warships of World War II. The British Admiralty feared that if Tirpitz sailed, the entire convoy would be lost. This fear set the stage for one of the most disastrous decisions in naval history. Believing Tirpitz was preparing to strike, the Admiralty issued the now infamous order: convoy is to scatter. Warships were withdrawn, leaving the merchant ships alone in open water. It was a catastrophic mistake. Instead of protecting the convoy, the order transformed it into prey. Isolated ships became easy targets for submarines and aircraft. Within minutes of the order, chaos erupted. Merchant captains had to choose between heading north toward the ice or south toward German patrols. Some fled blindly into fog. Others tried to maintain radio silence as U-boats closed in. Survivors later said the sea felt alive with threats. Every ripple, shadow, and echo suggested something lethal nearby. German aircraft struck first. Dive bombers descended through low clouds, dropping torpedoes into the convoy's scattered remnants. Ships erupted in flames, their cargo exploding violently. Crews abandoned vessels into freezing water where survival time was measured in minutes. The Arctic cold killed almost as many men as the bombs did. Over the next few days, U-boats hunted the crippled convoy relentlessly. One by one, ships vanished from radio contact. Some were hit by torpedoes and sank within minutes. Others were never found, leaving only oil slicks and floating debris. Out of 34 ships, only 11 reached their destination. PQ-17 became synonymous with loss. The scale of destruction was so overwhelming that the Germans believed they had sunk nearly every ship. But even they were astonished by how quickly the convoy disintegrated. Historians note that PQ-17 was effectively destroyed not by Tirpitz, but by fear of Tirpitz. The battleship never even fired a shot at the convoy. But PQ-17 was not the only Arctic tragedy. Months earlier, another convoy, PQ-13, encountered a brutal mix of storms and German attacks. The Barents Sea lashed at ships with waves so large they tore lifeboats from their mouths. Snow squalls hit U-boats until they were dangerously close. One merchant ship was hit twice in the span of minutes, sinking before the crew could react. Survivors from PQ-13 described the conditions as beyond human endurance. The cold caused guns to jam. Salt water froze to decks, turning them into lethal skating rinks. Crew members slipped overboard and vanished instantly. In the darkness of the polar night, men couldn't tell where the horizon ended and the sea began. German U-boats thrived in these conditions. The freezing water made their periscopes difficult to spot, while storms masked their movements. Many Allied ships were taken by surprise when torpedoes struck from invisible attackers. Entire crews perished before realizing they were under threat. The Arctic became the perfect environment for submarines to operate unseen. One particularly chilling U-boat attack occurred during convoy PQ-18. After the horror of PQ-17, Allied commanders bolstered defenses for the next mission. Yet even with escorts and aircraft overhead, German submarines scored multiple hits. Sailors reported hearing torpedoes approach underwater, an eerie metallic whisper that signaled death seconds later. The Arctic's unpredictability added to the terror. Convoys sometimes sailed in clear weather, only to be swallowed by sudden blizzards where visibility dropped to zero. It was during these storms that entire ships vanished without distress signals. Some wrecks were never located, leading to speculation that they broke apart under pressure from ice and waves. The most mysterious losses were those with surviving witnesses. Sailors described seeing a ship intact one moment, then struck by something unseen, an explosion, a wave, or a torpedo, and disappearing within minutes. These reports highlight the brutality of the Arctic environment, where destruction often happened faster than rescue. German surface ships also played a deadly role. In late 1942, the heavy cruiser Admiral Hipper attacked convoy WWII in what became known as the Battle of the Barents Sea. Despite heavy fog and swirling snow, Hipper managed to isolate and destroy several ships. Yet the battle took an unexpected turn. British destroyers fought fiercely to protect the convoy, using smoke screens and torpedo salvos to disrupt the German attack. Their resilience stunned the German command. Though some ships were lost, JW51B survived as a convoy. The failure enraged Hitler, leading him to famously declare that the surface fleet was useless and ordering its dismantling. Another major engagement in the Arctic was the Battle of the North Cape in December 1943. Germans deployed their last operational battleship, Scharnhorst, to intercept Allied convoys. But British intelligence decoded their plans. In a dramatic clash amid snow and darkness, the Royal Navy outmaneuvered Scharnhorst. Radar technology gave the British an advantage. Scharnhorst, fast but blind in a snowstorm, repeatedly lost track of its enemies. British ships closed in, surrounding the battleship. After hours of gunnery exchanges, torpedoes struck her hull. Scharnhorst sank with almost her entire crew, a devastating symbol of Germany's fading naval power. The sinking of Scharnhorst was not just a tactical victory, it was a turning point. After her loss, German forces became less active in the Arctic. Yet even with fewer threats from battleships, the convoys still faced relentless attacks from U-boats and aircraft. Nature remained the deadliest enemy. One of the strangest Arctic disasters involved convoy QP-13, which became trapped in thick fog near Iceland. Navigational errors led several ships into a minefield laid earlier by the British themselves. Mines tore through hulls in seconds. Sailors had no idea what hit them. They believed they were under attack, not realizing they had struck friendly mines. The tragedy of QP-13 highlights how quickly Arctic conditions could turn deadly. Fog erased all visual navigation, compasses malfunctioned due to magnetic anomalies near the pole, and rough seas made it impossible to see floating mines. Some ships sank so quickly that no distress call was made. The Arctic also produced some of the coldest rescue attempts in naval history. Men thrown into the water had mere minutes before hypothermia rendered them unconscious. Rescue boats struggled to reach survivors as waves swallowed them. Many sailors were lost, even after escaping sinking ships, simply because no rescue ship could reach them in time. During convoy RA-64 in 1945, a British destroyer rescued dozens of survivors only to be struck by a U-boat moments later. The ship sank rapidly, taking sailors from both vessels with it. This grim event shows how closely life and death intertwined in Arctic battles. Rescue could turn into disaster instantly. The ice itself played the role of a silent killer. Ships became trapped when ice floes closed around them. Pressure ridges formed, crushing metal hulls like tin cans. Sometimes the ice groaned for hours before breaking a ship apart. Survivors described the sound as bones snapping, a haunting reminder of nature's raw power. In other cases, the ice saved ships. Some convoys hid behind drifting floes, using them as natural shields against aircraft. The Arctic environment was unpredictable, capable of both protecting and destroying fleets. Commanders often made decisions based on instinct rather than strategy. German U-boats adapted quickly to the Arctic. They coated decks with anti-freeze mixtures, installed heating systems, and used torpedoes modified for cold water. Their crews suffered extreme conditions, constant moisture, freezing temperatures, and weeks without sunlight. Yet they became some of the most effective submarines of the war. One U-boat commander reported that ice formed on the periscope so quickly that he could barely see targets. Yet his submarine still managed to sink multiple ships in a single attack. Arctic battles demanded extraordinary skill from both sides. Air attacks were equally devastating. German torpedo bombers, nicknamed Angels of Death by Allied sailors, used low-altitude approaches to drop torpedoes with terrifying accuracy. Their appearances were sudden, materializing from fog banks or cloud layers. Ships had seconds to respond. During one attack, a pilot reported seeing the entire convoy below, sailing in perfect lines like cemetery rows. Moments later, his squadron unleashed torpedoes that ripped through several ships. Flames illuminated the night sky. These moments remain some of the most devastating scenes in Arctic naval history. Radar offered some protection, but Arctic storms often disrupted signals. Snow caused false echoes. Ice crystals confused readings. Ships sometimes fired at phantoms while real enemies slipped past unnoticed. The combination of technological limitations and environmental chaos made the Arctic battlefield uniquely treacherous. Convoys often encountered mysterious disappearances. At least 9 ships across multiple convoys were listed as lost without trace. These vessels were last seen, sailing normally before vanishing in storms. No wreckage was found for decades. Some may have broken apart beneath waves. Others may lie beneath silt in deep polar trenches. One particularly chilling disappearance involved the merchant ship Honolulu. Last sighted during a snowstorm in 1943, it vanished completely. No explosions were heard, no survivors drifted ashore. The ship was simply gone. Its fate remains unknown, leaving historians to speculate whether ice, U-boats, or structural failure doomed it. The Arctic offered no closure. Families often learned that their relatives died without knowing how or when. Many names remain on memorials with no associated wrecks. The sea took them, and the sea kept its secrets. In 2016, researchers discovered the wreck of HMS Edinburgh, which sank in 1942. She was carrying Soviet gold as partial payment for Allied supplies. Her resting place deep in the Barents Sea revealed twisted metal and evidence of multiple torpedo strikes. Finding the wreck helped solve one mystery but reminded historians of countless others still hidden. New sonar surveys showed deep ridges and underwater cliffs where ships may have fallen intact. Some wrecks rest at depths unreachable by divers, preserved in freezing darkness. These untouched graves remain time capsules of the Arctic War. Weather played as much a role in these battles as human strategy. Meteorologists now believe some storms in the Arctic intensified in ways unrecognized during World War II. Rapid cyclogenesis, storms strengthening within hours, could explain how fleets vanished so quickly. Sailors had little warning. These storms created massive waves capable of rolling destroyers. Some accounts describe walls of water approaching silently, without wind. Modern science now recognizes these as rogue waves. But to World War II sailors, they were unimaginable forces appearing from nowhere. During convoy WWII, a destroyer reported being hit by a wave taller than its bridge. The ship nearly capsized. Men clung to railings as ice-cold water swept across the deck. Only sheer luck prevented disaster. These moments highlight how nature overshadowed even the most dangerous enemy attacks. Amid these dangers, morale was astonishingly high. Sailors knew the stakes. If convoys failed, the Soviet front might collapse. Their determination kept the Arctic lifeline alive. Yet many crewmen admitted they felt more fear in the Arctic than in any other theater. The combination of darkness, cold, and silence created an atmosphere unlike any battlefield. Sound traveled strangely, sometimes amplified, sometimes muted. Engines echoed through the ice. Some sailors claimed to hear faint metallic knocks from beneath the sea, likely shifting ice or distant ships creaking in the pressure. These eerie sounds contributed to the Arctic's reputation as a haunted battlefield. Men felt watched by forces beyond their understanding. Yet despite these fears, they sailed again and again, pushing through conditions few modern navies would dare to face without advanced equipment. By 1945, the Arctic convoys had delivered millions of tons of supplies. The cost was enormous. Thousands of sailors died, hundreds of ships were lost, and entire fleets disappeared in minutes. But their sacrifices helped turn the tide of the war. Without them, the Eastern Front might have fallen. Even after the war, the Arctic remained a graveyard of unanswered questions. Some wrecks were found, others remain hidden. Families continue to search archives for clues. Naval historians still debate how certain ships vanished so completely. The Arctic keeps its secrets well. In recent years, melting ice has revealed new wreck sites. Some ships appear remarkably intact, preserved by cold water. These discoveries provide fresh insights into the battles, hull damage patterns, torpedo penetration, and the chaos of final moments. But each wreck also deepens the tragedy. Modern expeditions use remotely operated vehicles to explore deep wrecks. Their footage shows silent corridors, frozen artifacts, and eerie calm. It is hard to imagine that these peaceful ruins were once scenes of terror, fire, and struggle. The Arctic transforms even the most violent events into quiet memorials. The story of Arctic naval battles is ultimately one of resilience and sacrifice. Sailors braved conditions no human should face, fought an enemy they could rarely see, and pressed on despite overwhelming odds. Their missions were crucial, their bravery undeniable, and their losses heartbreaking. Entire fleets vanished not because of incompetence, but because they sailed through a region where nature and war combined into a perfect storm. The Arctic punished mistakes brutally and unpredictably. Even the strongest ships could not defy its power. The World War II Arctic battles remain some of the most dramatic and least understood stories of the war. Fleets vanished in minutes, swallowed by storms, torpedoes, and the unforgiving sea. Their sacrifices shaped history, yet many of their final moments remain mysteries frozen beneath the waves. The Arctic holds their secrets still, locked in ice and silence, waiting for the world to remember.